Hey everybody, it's Tyler with Gaia Force Gaming, and I have a locals gameplay video from you. So this is at the finals of my locals at Cool Comics and Games in Cape Coral, Florida. I'm going to try to start bringing you guys some gameplay content like this. So we are playing the Ultimate Cup rules, so the player on the right here does do his mulligan, the player on the left is keeping. On the left, he is playing the blue-green hybrid build that you've seen me play in the Ultimate Cup, as well as Russell. It is a slightly different variation, and he opens with JP and, of course, the memory blocker in the back there. The player on the right is playing X Antibody, opens by evolving into a Sun Rizamon. Both of these decks are probably like the least popular of the popular decks, if that makes sense. They're very good decks, but they're on the lower end of being played. So player on the right does his search, starts going up his line using his searcher, and then the player on the left promotes his Madoki. And we're going to see him play the Boko, doing a search. Of course, grabbing the only tamer, the JP, and he has a choice between the Rhino and the Ancient. He does go with the Rhino, returning the rest to the bottom of his deck. This is a matchup that I think is fairly even spread. I think the blue-green deck is very favored into decks like blue hybrid, as well as even maybe yellow hybrid. X-Ante having like that big body, without the stun, the blue-green might be a little worse for wear compared to where it would normally be. So he evolves into the Warumanzemon just to pass the turn, leaving the blue-green player at 1. So that on the blue-green player's turn, he is going to evolve the JP into the Beetlemon for the 1, gaining the 2 memory, and suspending. I said Beetlemon, I apologize. It is a Metal Kabuterimon. All these cobalt blue and yellow Digimon kind of do blend into one after you look at them long enough. So then he's thinking about who to swing over it with, which makes sense because sometimes you don't want to pierce necessarily. It could be a little bit dangerous to give your opponent maybe a tamer from security or an option card that could change the tide. So he does just go into the Rhino, and then looks like he's deciding whether or not he wants to end the turn or swing. And then the other option is, if you do swing, do you do the evolution, which he opted not to, staying at the 8K. I do find that when playing the blue-green deck, sometimes it is better to not proc the Rhino Beetles effect, just because the 8K body is usually pretty good, and you leave yourself open to playing more utility megas based on what you need at what time. So the X Antibody player has his full line now on the right-hand side. Going back to the blue-green player, he does evolve into a Beetlemon this time. Searching the top 5. We do see there that he does run the Davis, which is interesting choice. Usually they don't run the Davis as a memory tamer, they run just Mimi. We can see in his hand a little peek that he does also run the Mimi. But it is a cool little, just to dig and give yourself a blue tamer. I don't remember if you're in blue hybrids or not. But looks like he's just asking about the inheritables. There are a lot of effects. I do implore you guys to familiarize yourself with the X Antibody effects, as we're going to see a lot of them in this format, and also moving forward. The deck does continue to get better. It gets 3 sets of support in a row. So by the time BT9 rolls around, the deck is pretty high powered. We are going to see a lot of it in the meta. So just keep your eyes out for that one. So now that they've resolved whatever questions about the heritables, the blue-green player starts swinging. He starts with the Madoki. Usually you want to end with Madoki, but against black there's no real memory gain in security that you would normally be afraid of. So he does just take advantage of some chip damage with the little body for the floodgate that might not really come up. Now, if he does promote next turn, the Madoki could come up because the Dorumon does help him gain memory when he places sources. But maybe it's one of those risk-reward situations where he felt it was worth it to get the chip damage in just to set up a potential lethal for the following turn. The black player here is really thinking about whether or not to raise. Now, the 6 cost is a hard sell. He has 4 sources, so even if he places one, he cannot kill the 6 cost, and he's way off of the 9 cost with the Dorogreymon effect. He does promote. I think he just got very... he knows that if he keeps waiting, he's just going to get too far behind. So he's going to do the swing. He's counting up all of his boosts and other effects, declaring the order. He ends up putting a Omnimon, it looks like, in sources. I believe that's an Omnimon X Antibody. Just to add another X Antibody, draw a card, gain a memory. I'm sorry, not gain a memory, just draw the card. And he swings for the 2 checks. Does survive. And he takes a minute to think about how he is going to pass turn. It is a rough situation, because if he does pass to more than 3, you threaten the crackback from the Ancient Beetle, trashing a security and piercing, followed by just a swing for game. So that is a potential problem, and if you just pass 1, you still have lethal threatened because there's a JP in the back, which evolves for 1 into any green hybrid. So he is going to Final Zubagon Punch, which seems like a pretty decent play. Just restanding with blocker, etc. You know, your reboot, your blocker, your plus, and he's probably sitting at like 14k right now, but he does have the Thunder Laser to suspend him. And it looks like he's going to just start swinging. So the Chikurimon de-digivolves. He swings again anyway. Hits a memory boost, and then it looks like... Oh, because of the Thunder Laser, he cannot threaten the game. So now he just has to try and go wider, unless he does have Hammer Spark, which some of these blue-green lists do not run, or maybe 1 copy of, if anything. He does just end the turn with the Ice Wall. Very strong way to delay the game, ensure that he cannot get lethaled. But the player on the right does have the memory boost, which will help him play around it. So we're at the final stages of this game 1. Kind of grindy game 1. Maybe in the future I will speed up the gameplay a little bit just for this dead time. I do apologize. This is my first time doing a gameplay video in a long time, other than like tournament reports. I'm trying to find a better format for them. So the player on the right does crack the memory boost, and then he does swing with his Dorogreymon. Here, if he does add the source, he could kill both of the things on board. So it looks like if I was a betting man, he will do that, but he's just trying to decide what to put under. He does put the Doraemon. Gain the memory and draw the card. So he's going to blow them both up, because it does have 6 sources now. And yeah, he's just verifying the effect there. Again, it's important to be familiar with these effects. 1, 2 checks. The JP does get played. Unfortunate. He does also lose. He did already lose the memory for the Ice Wall. He's sitting at 2 memory. Try and find a way to stop the green player from going for game, because at this point I'm sure you have to assume he has the hybrid. So he's just going to evolve, pop the 1. That would have been great if he didn't hit a JP in security. Man, that feels bad. And then, yeah, he just goes into the hybrid and swings for the game. So now they move on to game 2. So yeah, and while they shuffle up, I'm going to just say in the comments, let me know if you guys do like these gameplay videos. I will try to record the finals match at my locals every week and upload it. This locals was, I believe, only 12 players. We are feeling a little bit of local burnout from the BT07 format. We normally get 20 plus at our locals. We do Swiss rounds until one undefeated, and then we usually cut to top 8 or top 4 depending on the turnout. So today it was 12 players cut to top 4, and this was the final match of the top 4. So our top is always a single elimination bracket. Just the players locally like the top because top cut does make the variance of the game feel a little less bad, especially if you're playing weekly. Just get some more games in. It lets us get 2 or 3 more rounds every week as well, which is a big benefit. We have a pretty competitive locals. We have a handful of players who do play in a lot of the online events, as well as a handful of players who play in a lot of the in-person events when they come up. We all try to do pretty well. So now that shuffling is complete, we're going to see who ends up going first. If I had to guess, I'd say the X Antibody will make the blue-green player go first, just because in this format, it is pretty beneficial to go second. So here they're resolving their mulligans. Thinking long and hard about it on the right player's side. So maybe he is going first, unless the player on the left just snap-capped his hand. And he does mulligan, and let's see who begins. Yep, it is going to be the blue-green player. He did keep his opening hand. He's going to open with the Madoki, and then it looks like he has Mimi and Davis. If I had to guess, Davis would come out, grabbing the Beetlemon. Pretty strong. After having played this deck, now looking back at this footage, I do think Davis is pretty strong because you'll never be tempted to evolve over it if you don't run any of the blue champions. So it is a memory tamer that you could just have sit there. I'm not sure exactly how many copies he ran. I did, unfortunately, forget to get their deck lists. I think in the future I'll try to get a picture of the finalist deck list to put at the end of the video. I think that would be cool just so you guys could see how these players are running. Player on the right does start with his memory tamer, get a search off, and pass his turn like that. So the blue-green player promotes, continues to set up a little bit. He does have the Hammer Spark here. Goes for a Mimi, and then a Bokomon. Interesting. Grabs a Davis off the Boko, and the X Antibody player now at 3 from his tamer. This seems like a battle of the setups. Like, both these decks do want to set up. Blue-green is a little reactive rather than proactive, whereas X Antibody feels a little proactive. So blue-green does tend to try to control the board and win resource exchanges, in the end outvaluing your opponent until you can push for an aggressive game. While X Antibody seems to just want to build the perfect Voltron stack. So he did grab that Chumon off the memory boost. He is going to drop it down now that he's seen the Hammer Spark. Not sure how helpful it will be because I don't believe the blue-green player plays more than maybe 2 Hammer Sparks, and I don't even know if he has any memory boosts in the deck. So we see him drop a second Bokomon. Oh, well, yeah, the Chumon does stop the Bokomon, of course. I don't know what I was thinking. We do also see that copy of Howling Memory Boost there. He does go Mimi and Rhino Kabuterimon off these grabs. And then the Howling just to freeze the Chumon. Not that we think it's going to swing anyway, but again, setting up for a future turn could be pretty monumental. Once that Chumon is gone, he does have a ton of memory he could gain if this board is left unchecked by the X Antibody player. Does look as though the black player is struggling to find the level 5 to go up his chain in the back there. Is going to the Grumblemon, looking just to cycle, it looks like. Again, getting stuck on that level 5 is rough. He seems to be just falling behind in this this setup game, so to speak. So he does swing with the Grumblemon. Let's try and get some chip damage in while he can. It hits a JP. And he does have the level 5 now, so he's just deciding whether or not to go for the chip damage. It does look a little rough. He has... Ooh, that was actually a misplay here, because the Thunder Laser doesn't have a hybrid on board to get played. So that is unfortunate. Again, guys, just be careful with tunnel vision. So that can happen. Obviously, like mistakes like these do happen all the time. We just try to catch them. He reveals the top for his Beetlemon, getting the Rhino and the JP. Evolves to the Rhino. For what it's worth, evolving, he would just miss out on one memory. Or, no, he would have missed out on both the Bokos. So he would have had to evolve first. Swings with the Mudoki. Looks like he might just be going for game this turn. Lost to the Rhino. Pops his memory boost to gain 2 and evolve into a Beetlemon. And then I imagine he will swing with Piercing with the Rhino. He is digging for something. So there you go, swing with the Piercing. Hitting a memory boost. Swinging with the Metal Kabuterimon. They will trade. And then he plays the Mudoki just to turn off his memory boost, putting his opponent at 1, and that'll probably end up sealing the game. So that cinches it 2-0 for the blue-green player. Yeah, it looks like there's discussing about how long it took them to get to that level 5. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments any changes you'd like to see with this video, etc. And yeah, if you're looking forward to gameplay videos, let me know. Love you guys. See you around.